Cyber Threat Brief for July 20, 2026. SonicWall SMA 0 days exploited in the wild with CISA. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, KEV, known exploited vulnerabilities catalog, deadlines passed, Nginx critical heap overflow, affects 15 years of releases with possible remote code execution. And 7-zip XC handling flaw patched in late June. Patches are out for all three, update immediately. Here's the full breakdown of today's top security stories. Daily Cyber Threat Brief, July 20, 2026. Next section, Critical Alerts. SonicWall SMA 0 days exploited before disclosure. CVE 2026-15409. CVE 2026-15410. Threat Actor UTA 0533 exploited 2 SonicWall secure mobile access. SMA 1000 VPN 0 days starting June 22, 2026, before public disclosure. CVE 2026-15409. CVSS, the Common Vulnerability Scoring System, 10.0, is a pre-authentication WebSocket bypass that allows unauthenticated external requests to tunnel to local host services. CVE 2026-15410, CVSS 7.2, enables privilege escalation to root. Both were chained to deploy custom malware including Rootrun, Seduid Privilege Escalation Binary, Knuckleball, persistence via modified startup scripts, Suo5 HTTP proxy, and OrangeJetAil Java Web Shell. Volksity observed the attacker sniffing LDAP traffic to capture credentials and modifying Nginx unit configs to route to backdoor endpoints. Both CVEs are now on CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, KEV, known exploited vulnerabilities catalog, with a remediation deadline of July 17, 2026, already passed. EPSS, the Exploit Prediction Scoring System, scores are low, 1.3% and 1.5%, but active exploitation is confirmed. Action: patch SMA 1000 appliances immediately. SonicWall released fixes this week. Check for indicators: /usr/bin/xcfind, /usr/lib/python3, 11/site packages/deploy new, pi modified /etc/init, d/workplace startup script, and Nginx unit config modifications at /var/lib/unit/conf. JSON. Review logs for WebSocket requests with user agent, SMA connect agent, and BM ID values starting with 3,389. This is a complete compromise requiring full forensic investigation if indicators are found. Sources: The Hacker News. Nginx heap overflow in script engine. CVE 2026-42533. Nginx versions 0.9.6 through 1.31.2, 2011 to present, contain a critical heap buffer overflow in the script engine that can crash workers or enable remote code execution. CVE 2026-42533, CVSS 9.2v4/8. 1v3.1, EPSS 99th percentile, at 61.5%, affects configurations using regex-based maps where the output variable is referenced in a string expression after a capture from an earlier regex match. A flaw occurs when the map's regex evaluation overwrites shared capture state between the engine's 2-pass buffer allocation and write operations. F5 conditions remote code execution on ASLR being disabled or bypassed, but security researcher Stan Shaw argues the flaw itself provides the ASLR bypass through uninitialized heap data disclosure, achieving 10/10 success in testing on default Ubuntu 24.4 builds. F5's temporary mitigation, switching to named captures, leaves a second exploitation path open when map defines the same named group as the location rejects. Action: update to Nginx 1.30.4, stable, or 1.31.3 mainline, or Nginx plus 37.0.3.1. The temporary mitigation is incomplete. Exposure requires specific regex map configurations, but the affected version range covers 15 years. Nginx Ingress Controller, Gateway Fabric, App Protect WAF, and Instance Manager are also affected, but F5 had not published fixed builds for those products as of July 19. Check your configs for regex-based map directives with variables used alongside numbered captures like $1 or $2. Sources: The Hacker News. Next section, Patch Priority. SonicWall SMA 1000 VPN appliances. Critical actively exploited 0 days. CVE 2026-15409. CVE 2026-15410. CIS a KEV deadline passed. Nginx critical heap overflow. CVE 2026-42533. 15-year vulnerability window. Possible RCE. update to 1.30.4/1.31.3 or Nginx plus 37.0.3.1. 7-zip, High Severity XZ Archive Handling Flaw, CVE 2026-14266, update to 26.2 or later. Linux kernel, 30 plus CVEs published by MSRC covering KSMBD, F2FS, NFS, KVM, network stack, and file system handling. Next section, Vulnerability Disclosures. 7-zip XZ Archive Handling Flaw, CVE 2026-14266. 7-zip versions prior to 26.2 contain a heap-based buffer overflow. CVE 2026-14266, CVSS 7.0, EPSS 57th percentile, in XZ chunk data processing. Opening a crafted XZ archive can execute code in the context of the current process. The flaw is a local attack vector, AV-L, requiring user interaction and high attack complexity, not network reachable. The overflow occurs in the mixcoder code function in C/XZDEC. See where the decoder receives the full output buffer length on each pass instead of remaining space after earlier writes. Code runs under 7-zip's token, filtered standard user on Windows unless elevated. The flaw appears in source code back to at least version 21.7/2021. Trend Micro ZDI published details July 15, but the patch shipped June 25 in version 26.2, giving a 20-day head start. No public proof of concept or exploitation in the wild as of July 20. Action, update to 7-zip 26.2 or later on all machines that open archives from external sources. This is a manual install from the official site, not an automatic update. Any product shipping a vulnerable copy of 7-zip's XZ decoder needs its own vendor fix. Version 26.2 also includes fixes for CVE 2026-48095, NTFS handler heap overflow, and other memory safety bugs from April. Sources: The Hacker News. Linux kernel CVEs. Multiple Microsoft Security Response Center published 30 Linux kernel CVEs on July 19, covering subsystems including KSMBD, SMB, small and medium business, server, F2FS and exFAT file systems, NFS client/server, KVM virtualization, network stack, IP-GRE, Batmanad, TIPC, HDLC PPP, and various drivers, AMSHBU, AMDUFT, ATH11K Wi-Fi. Highlights include CVE 2026-53390, KSMBD out-of-bounds read and DACL check, KSMBD compound request session validation, KVM guest triggerable BUG on replaced with safer handling, NTFS3 rejection of user space rights to reserved ZATers, IP-GRE CAP NET admin requirement for changelink, AppArmor mediation of TCP fast open implicit connect, and multiple use after free, null pointer dereference, divide by zero, and bounds check failures. MSRC entries contain minimal detail, information published only, no CVSS scores, and sparse EPSS coverage, and 5 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Action, update Linux kernels to the latest stable releases for your distribution. The volume of CVEs, 30 in one day, suggests a batch disclosure from kernel stable tree backports. Most are memory safety issues that could lead to crashes, privilege escalation, or information disclosure depending on exploit context. Prioritize systems running KSMBD, less common than Samba, KVM hosts, and any kernel-based network services. Sources: MSRC Security Update Guide and 29 additional MSRC entries for, and 33 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Rust Open SSL binding out-of-bounds write, CVE 2026-45784. The Rust OpenSL crate contains a potential out-of-bounds write in Cypher CTX ref. Cipher update in place for AES-KWPAD ciphers, CVE 2026-45784. EPSS 8th percentile at 0.2%. MSRC published the CVE, or Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures, on July 19 with no additional detail beyond information published. AES key wrap with padding is a NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, standardized key encryption algorithm, less commonly used than AES GCM or ChaCha 20poly 1305 in modern applications. Impact depends on whether the affected method is reachable in deployed code. Sources: MSRC Security Update Guide. Node, JSWS Library Memory Exhaustion, CVE 2026-62389. The WS Library, WebSocket implementation for Node. JS, prior to version 8.21.1, allows memory exhaustion denial of service due to default max fragment setting, CVE 2026-62389. EPSS 36th percentile at 0.4%. MSRC published the CVE on July 19. The WS library is widely used in Node.js applications for WebSocket support. Memory exhaustion can crash the process, disrupting service. Action: update WS to version 8.21.1 or later in Node.js projects. Check package, JSON and package lock. JSON for direct and transitive dependencies on WS. Run npm audit or yarn audit to identify affected versions. Sources: MSRC Security Update Guide. Next section, Trends and Context. Zero-day exploitation continues to target edge devices, VPN, firewalls that defenders patch slowly, with Sonic Wall SMA joining the long list of exploited appliances. The Nginx script engine flaw demonstrates how obscure configuration patterns can hide critical vulnerabilities for over a decade in widely deployed software. The 30 CVE Linux kernel batch from MSRC reflects the kernel community's systematic backporting of stability and security fixes to long-term support branches, not necessarily active exploitation. That concludes today's cyber threat brief. From Carolina Clear Tech. Stay patched, stay vigilant.